Gary Sandy as Andy Travis.
Any place I've ever worked. Let me ask you a question. Am I the guard or one of the nuts?
Guiding the entire narrative of WKRP in Cincinnati, Gary Sandy delivered a standout performance as Andy Travis, the talented program director known for his flowing hair and signature staff jacket. Andy was not only the man who transformed the station's playlist from tired old love ballads to rebellious rock and roll rhythms. He was the soul of WKRP, the invisible glue that held together a group of wildly different personalities in Cincinnati. With his integrity and effortless charm, Gary Sandy crafted the image of a quiet hero in the heart of 1970s America, inspiring millions of viewers to believe that passion alone could change the world.
Hey, Johnny.
Am I on?
No, man, it's all right.
Who are you?
I'm Andy Travis.
Oh, yeah.
Yet behind the dazzling spotlight of a powerful program director, Gary Sandy's real life unfolded like a somber melody, a constant struggle to escape the shadow of his own success. The tragedy began to take shape when WKRP in Cincinnati ended in 1982, and he realized he had been permanently locked into a single role. Hollywood is notoriously unforgiving. It can lift you to the skies, but it will just as easily cast you into oblivion if you fail to reinvent yourself. Gary placed everything on the 1986 film Troll, hoping it would restore his standing, only to be dealt a devastating blow when the movie was labeled a disaster, effectively severing his path back to the big screen. Once an in-demand A-list star, Gary was forced into a quiet migration toward theater stages and radio drama simply to survive, an agonizing fall in status that few truly understood.
First thing I should have done was get rid of Herb. The worst sales manager in the world. The worst.
The real nightmare, however, did not come from professional failure, but from the cruel verdict of time and the loneliness of those left behind. In recent years, as he entered his late 70s, Gary Sandy has had to watch members of his WKRP family pass away one by one. The deaths of Howard Hesseman in 2022 and Frank Bonner in 2021 cut deep into his memories, leaving him standing alone before a new generation of viewers, most of whom barely recognize the name Andy Travis. Instead of enjoying a comfortable retirement, he continues to tour small theater venues, using aging breaths to revive old roles before audiences too young to remember his legacy. It is a bitter irony that the vibrant, confident icon of 1978 has faded into a quiet old man, bearing the harsh marks of time while holding on to a glory that dimmed nearly half a century ago. Gary Sandy is still alive, but the charismatic Andy Travis now exists only in the past. His continued devotion to the stage in his later years stands as proof of an unwavering love for his craft, even if it carries the tone of a desperate effort not to be erased. No matter how ruthless time may be, the image of that confident program director, smiling with quiet assurance, will forever remain part of the soul of Cincinnati radio, in the hearts of those who still remember. Gary Sandy's career after WKRP in Cincinnati has always been a subject of debate. Some believe he was too rigid, unwilling to change his image or adapt his style to fit a rapidly evolving Hollywood, which ultimately led to his quiet disappearance from the spotlight. Others argue the opposite, that Gary was a true artist, someone who chose dignity over compromise, preferring to perform on small theater stages rather than sacrifice his self-respect for cheap, market-driven roles. So what do you think? Was Gary Sandy a fallen star, or an artist who stayed loyal to his principles? Comment 1 if you admire his unwavering integrity. Comment 0 if you regret a great talent that failed to move with the times. Howard Hesseman as Dr. Johnny Fever.
Mandel's Orchestra with their beautiful version of the all-time favorite, How Can I Miss You If You Won't Go Away?
Dr. Johnny Fever was never just a DJ. He was a symbol of rebellion, a madman with a pair of headphones who redefined the spirit of rock and roll on American radio at the tail end of the 1970s. Through Howard Hesseman's brilliant performance, the character emerged as careless, weathered, yet irresistibly magnetic, earning the actor 2 prestigious Emmy nominations. The half-lidded eyes behind dark sunglasses and that raspy, world-weary voice became a kind of medicine, healing the souls of countless generations of American radio listeners.
Man on the scene at the Pinedale Shopping Mall for the big WKRP turkey giveaway. So, take it away, Les Nessman.
Behind the pounding music and rebellious energy, however, Howard Hesseman's real life was a lonely journey, scarred from childhood. His first tragedy struck when he was only 5 years old, after his parents' painful divorce in 1945, leaving the young boy to grow up amid emotional instability and a profound absence of family warmth. That early fracture followed him through more than a decade of struggle under the stage name Don Sturdy, as he endured the humiliation of anonymous guest roles in exchange for meager pay. Even when he finally tasted fame with WKRP in Cincinnati, Howard could not escape the pain of being typecast. After the series ended in 1982, Hollywood saw him only as an eccentric DJ, cruelly extinguishing his hopes of pursuing deeper dramatic roles and pushing him into a state of quiet despair, an artist crushed by the betrayal of his own ideals.
It's goodbye to the elevator music.
More merciless than professional failure was the sudden death sentence delivered by medical error. The true nightmare began when Howard entered surgery for colon-related health issues. What should have been a path to recovery instead became a brutal battleground of fate. Post-operative complications attacked his body relentlessly, reducing a man once bursting with energy on television to someone exhausted by relentless pain. The final days of January 2022 became a suffocating memory for his wife, Caroline Ducroc, as she watched her gifted husband slowly fade amid life support machines at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. On January 29, 2022, Howard Hesseman passed away at the age of 81, leaving behind an immeasurable void in the hearts of fans. The brilliant glow of Dr. Johnny Fever was finally extinguished in the cold stillness of an intensive care unit, closing a life devoted to art, yet marked by deep tragedy. Howard Hesseman has departed this world, carrying an entire era of music with him into the cold earth. But the legacy of an artist fiercely loyal to his own identity endures. Though his body has returned to dust, his uninhibited laughter remains a treasured echo in the memories of audiences who loved him. And the turbulent marriage between Loni Anderson and Burt Reynolds stands as a lasting warning about the dark underside of Hollywood's so-called golden couples. Loni Anderson as Jennifer Marlowe. Jennifer Marlowe was the brightest feminine presence at Cincinnati radio, a dazzling secretary whose regal beauty and razor-sharp intelligence commanded the admiration of every man in the room. Through Loni Anderson's unforgettable portrayal, the character completely shattered the stereotype of the dumb blonde, earning her 3 Golden Globe nominations and 2 Emmy Awards. With her glamorous looks and unshakable confidence, Loni became a magnetic force for millions of viewers, rising to become the highest-paid actress on American television at the height of her fame.
And every time I say no, he says, "There's yes in my eyes. Do you see yes in there anywhere?"
Yet behind that glamorous facade lay deep emotional fractures rooted in poverty and a series of short-lived marriages. In 1964, at just 18 years old and still painfully naive, she married Bruce Hasselberg, but the union collapsed after only 2 years, leaving Loni struggling as a single mother. She was forced to suppress her artistic ambitions and work as a schoolteacher simply to survive, raising her young daughter Deidre in constant financial hardship. Physical pain struck again in 2009 when Deidre was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, MS. Watching her only child gradually lose mobility pushed Loni into profound despair, compelling her to strip away the glamour and stand beside her daughter in a brutal life-or-death battle against an unforgiving disease.
Thank you for noticing. I got these at Hoffman's department store last week.
The darkest turning point of all was her explosive marriage to superstar Burt Reynolds in 1988. Behind the closed doors of a lavish mansion lay a horrifying reality, as Loni later revealed that she endured repeated physical abuse and relentless psychological torment from her powerful husband. The divorce, dragging on from 1993 until its financial settlement was finally resolved in 2015, became one of the most vicious public reputation massacres in Hollywood history. Burt openly humiliated her, branding her a bad mother, leaving Loni financially devastated and emotionally shattered, her faith in love completely destroyed. The final nightmare came in the form of metastatic uterine leiomyosarcoma, a rare and aggressive cancer that quietly ravaged the beauty and strength of a former sex symbol. In the final days of August 2025, at a hospital in Los Angeles, the once glamorous actress was reduced to a frail figure, her breath weakening as tumors overtook her body. On August 3, 2025, Loni Anderson passed away at the age of 79, just days before her 80th birthday, bringing to a close a life of beauty marked by relentless storms and profound humiliation. Loni Anderson has now been laid to rest, carrying her silent suffering into eternity, leaving behind immeasurable sorrow for a beauty that once defined an era. Though her private life was filled with darkness, the image of Jennifer Marlowe, smiling brightly, will forever remain a shimmering memory in the hearts of the public. Frank Bonner as Herb Tarlek.
An objective. That's the one thing that all plans have to have, an objective.
Herb Tarlek was the flamboyant, chameleon-like advertising salesman in his loud plaid suits, a character both irritating and oddly lovable, who gave Cincinnati radio its unmistakable personality. Frank Bonner injected the role with vibrant life through his sharp, flexible, comedic timing, transforming a pompous salesman into the center of uproarious laughter. Across 4 seasons from 1978 to 1982, Frank's fast-talking delivery and confident appearance made Herb Tarlek an inseparable memory for generations of American television fans.
Knock, knock, knock. Come in.
Behind the playful scenes, however, Frank Bonner was quietly enduring horrific physical pain caused by a fateful accident. In 1978, just as fame was beginning to take hold, he survived a terrifying skydiving accident, plunging more than 7 meters onto solid ground. The brutal impact shattered both of his legs and severely injured his back, nearly killing him on the spot. Throughout much of Season 2, viewers saw Herb Tarlek walking with crutches, few realizing that Frank was relying on extremely high doses of painkillers simply to remain standing in front of the camera. His career soon stalled as Hollywood permanently typecast him as a ridiculous ad salesman. Despite directing more than 100 episodes of City Guys, Frank was largely ignored by the industry, leaving a gifted artist trapped in chronic disappointment as his true abilities remained buried beneath the overwhelming shadow of his past role.
Gray Hog Award, and he suddenly gets snooty on us.
Herb?
It's all right, he can't hear us, his door's closed.
The most terrifying nightmare arrived in his later years when Frank was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. This was not a simple decline of memory, but a brutal assault on the nervous system, one that slowly erased the man himself. From 2018 to 2021, his life descended into darkness, marked by hallucinations and constant fear. The man who once made his living through sharp wit and endless chatter reached the end of his journey in complete silence, no longer recognizing his devoted wife, Gail Hardage, or his closest friends. On June 16, 2021, Frank Bonner passed away at his home at the age of 79 after 3 long years in which the disease stripped him entirely of dignity and awareness. His death marked the final chapter of a life filled with wounds that never truly healed, from the physical free fall of his youth to the devastating collapse of his spirit in his final days. Frank Bonner has now departed this world, leaving behind profound sorrow for a talent that battled adversity until the very end. Though his body has turned to dust, the optimism and laughter he gave to audiences will forever remain part of the soul of WKRP in Cincinnati. Frank Bonner's life stands as a haunting reminder of fate's cruelty, when a comedic star is ultimately forced to exit the world in silence, forgotten and lost to memory. Tim Reid as Venus Flytrap.
They figure there's something wrong here, so they make a deal with another gang. A gang of very happy-go-lucky guys. They call themselves the Pros.
Venus Flytrap embodied pure elegance, a confident nighttime DJ with depth of soul, captivating countless hearts through the airwaves. Through Tim Reid's graceful performance, the character delivered not only smooth soul music, but also became a symbol of black intellect on American television. The image of a stylish man with a rich, expressive voice planted in audiences a belief in personal freedom and inner strength amid the turbulence of late 1970s America.
This is Venus, my children. Here we sit, and let the sounds of music creep in our ears. Soft stillness in the night become the touches of sweet harmony.
Yet far from the glamorous aura of the screen, Tim Reid endured a grueling journey shaped by racial discrimination and the pain of a fractured family. Born in the poor, rural town of Norfolk, Virginia, he grew up deprived of emotional stability after his parents divorced during his early childhood. His first years in Hollywood were bleak, marked by repeated dismissals from filmmakers who confined him to minor, demeaning roles because of racial prejudice. Even at the peak of his career in May 1980, he suffered a devastating emotional blow when his 14-year marriage to Rita Ann Sykes collapsed. Watching his 2 children, Timothy and Tori, grow up amid separation, while the pressures of fame closed in, pushed him into a state of profound exhaustion and isolation.
Your package deal.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we're soul brothers.
More painful than personal heartbreak was the crushing collapse of his deepest professional dream. Tim Reid poured his savings and his heart into founding New Millennium Studios in Virginia, driven by a vision of building a fair and inclusive film empire for black artists. But relentless pressure from powerful industry players and mounting financial struggles forced the studio to shut its doors, turning a lifelong dream into a burden of debt and quiet despair. In his later years, he has faced the ruthless exclusion imposed by age, as meaningful acting offers gradually faded, leaving a legend to quietly wither in the shadows of a new generation's indifference. Now at 79, Tim Reid endures persistent joint pain, the result of decades of overwork, while silently watching close brothers-in-arms like Howard Hesseman and Frank Bonner pass away one by one, leaving him alone in an era that has slowly slipped into memory. Tim Reid is still with us, but the radiant glow of Venus Flytrap now survives only as a weathered memory. Though his real-life journey has been filled with hardship and tears, his lifelong devotion to the dignity of black artists remains a luminous chapter in the history of American television. Gordon Jump as Arthur Carlson.
Now, Mr. Sims, look, he's not Sims. His name is Venus Flytrap.
Arthur Carlson, fondly known as the big guy, appeared as a clumsy yet deeply kind-hearted manager, a steady anchor holding together the rebellious personalities at the radio station. Gordon Jump breathed life into the character with a calm, grounded presence, convincingly portraying a man who constantly stood in the line of fire to protect his employees from endless trouble. The role turned him into a symbol of sincerity on American television, etching into the public memory one of the warmest-hearted leaders of the 1970s.
She'll buy that. Had that happen once to us here. A sportscaster went nuts right in the middle of a swimming meet. Started barking like a dog.
Yet in stark contrast to the gentle smile he wore on screen, Gordon Jump's real life unfolded as a long struggle with financial pressure and the quiet collapse of personal happiness. A late bloomer who began his career in earnest in 1965, he spent more than a decade in obscurity at local radio stations before finding success. When WKRP in Cincinnati ended in 1982, instead of enjoying the rewards of fame, he was thrust into financial hardship while raising 4 children. Bitterly ironic, a genuine television star was forced to humble himself by appearing in Maytag washing machine commercials for years simply to make ends meet. The fractures from 3 marriages to June S. May and Alice Teeple left deep psychological scars, turning a man who brought laughter to millions into someone grappling with loneliness and emotional instability within his own home.
Johnny, is that true?
What?
That I've got nothing to worry about?
No, it's not.
The true tragedy reached its most devastating peak in the early 2000s, when Gordon received what felt like a death sentence: pulmonary fibrosis. It was a slow, merciless physical torment as lung tissue gradually scarred over, stealing away his ability to breathe freely. In his final years, the once commanding image of the big guy faded into memory, replaced by a man entirely dependent on an oxygen tank, each breath becoming a painful battle for survival. On September 22, 2003, at a nursing facility in Southern California, Gordon Jump passed away at the age of 71. He left this world in heartbreaking silence at a time when the entertainment industry was racing toward new trends, leaving behind a legend who had devoted his final breath to art, only to depart suffocating under the weight of illness. Gordon Jump has now found his rest, closing the journey of a true artist's soul, even though his life was marked by hidden wounds and relentless hardship. The legacy of the kind-hearted Arthur Carlson remains a quiet, lingering note, one that continues to warm the hearts of generations whenever they look back on the golden era of Cincinnati. Jan Smithers as Bailey Quarters.
And some news reporting.
Hello.
Hey.
Bailey Quarters drew viewers in with her delicate beauty and quiet intelligence, a gentle breeze amid the constant noise of Cincinnati radio. Through Jan Smithers' natural, understated performance, the character emerged as a symbol of silent perseverance, evolving from a shy staffer into a woman who confidently claimed her place through sharp, professional competence. Jan's timid smile and bright, searching eyes became a source of calm and comfort, warming the hearts of American television audiences throughout the late 1970s.
Les, I know unions have had a lot of bad publicity, but you just don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yet few realized that the shyness seen on screen was rooted in a horrifying incident that had scarred her both physically and emotionally in her youth. At just 16, a devastating car accident left Jan with a permanent scar across her chin, shattering the confidence of a young girl at the height of her blossoming beauty. She entered the entertainment industry carrying that wound, constantly haunted by the fear that her flaw would be scrutinized under the unforgiving stage lights. Her career, too, was marked by quiet humiliation, as she was repeatedly compared to her co-star Loni Anderson. Hollywood's obsession with overt sex symbols meant that Jan's true talent was often overlooked, leaving her to endure years of feeling underestimated and undervalued.
I came at a bad time, didn't I?
Sure. But there's never a good time around here anyway, you know. You're Miss Nichols?
Quarters, Bailey.
The true nightmare struck when her faith in family happiness completely collapsed. In 1986, Jan married actor James Brolin, but what began as a promise of stability soon turned into an emotional hell, haunted by infidelity and the crushing pressure of her husband's glamorous lifestyle. The divorce in 1995, after nearly a decade together, stripped away her last remaining hope, prompting her to walk away from fame and quietly retire from acting. From that moment on, Jan chose a reclusive life, alone within a bustling city, retreating from emotional wounds that never truly healed. Her later years were further darkened as she watched fragments of her youth, friends and co-stars like Howard Hesseman and Gordon Jump, pass away one by one. Now 74, Jan Smithers has turned to India, devoting the past 16 years to meditation in a final effort to soothe the lingering pain of a life marked by beauty, betrayal, and loss. Today, Jan Smithers lives far from the public eye, leaving the gentle image of Bailey Quarters to rest quietly in the memories of audiences. Though her private journey was filled with hardship and broken trust, her silent dedication remains a chapter worthy of deep respect in television history. Her decision to retire early and seek spiritual refuge after the collapse of her marriage continues to invite reflection on fame, fragility, and the hidden cost of a life lived under the spotlight. Richard Sanders as Les Nessman.
Chichi Rodriguez.
Hopefully, Mr. Rodriguez will play up to par in his next competition.
Les Nessman was a deeply devoted yet painfully clumsy news reporter, a character who brought a very particular kind of humor through the awkward mishaps at Cincinnati radio. With his thick-rimmed glasses and the ever-present bandage stuck to his body in the strangest places, Richard Sanders shaped him into an eccentric soul driven by an almost childlike hunger for recognition. This was never just a comedic role. It became a vivid memory of naive perseverance, reflecting the quiet struggles of ordinary people in American society at the time.
Just been received on the WKRP teletype. Monster lizard ravages East Coast.
Yet despite his on-screen success, Richard Sanders' real artistic journey was marked from the very beginning by neglect and isolation. Born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, he spent nearly 15 years in the shadows of obscurity before landing the role of a lifetime at the age of 38. From 1965 to 1978, his life was a long battle for survival, worrying about rent and groceries, accepting forgettable minor roles in exchange for meager paychecks. When WKRP in Cincinnati ended in 1982, a cruel verdict known as typecasting sealed his fate. Hollywood ruthlessly decided that his face belonged only to foolish characters, and every attempt to move into serious dramatic roles was coldly rejected, plunging a capable actor into quiet despair as his artistic ambitions were crushed.
I would appreciate it if you would be kind enough to observe them.
The pain of professional stagnation was still not as brutal as the merciless erosion of memory and loss that arrived with age. After 2006, the name Richard Sanders nearly vanished from the film and television landscape, forcing him into an unsettling silence in Woodinville, Washington. To support his family and his wife, Marilyn Marco, he was compelled to lower himself into low-budget, second-rate productions, an agonizing compromise of dignity. Tragedy deepened as he was forced to say goodbye one by one to close companions like Howard Hesseman and Frank Bonner. Each death shattered him further, leaving an 83-year-old man painfully alone amid memories of a golden era now buried beneath cold earth. Old age, with its physical pain and cognitive decline, has become his final, grueling battle, a confrontation with the limits of mortality in the ruins of fading fame. Richard Sanders is still with us, but the passionate reporter Les Nessman now exists only as a pale shadow drained of life by time. Though his present reality is heavy with sorrow and solitude, the human warmth he poured into that role remains a beautiful note in the hearts of those who remember. Richard Sanders' life stands as a painful reminder of the ruthless nature of fame. The more completely you give yourself to a role, the more easily it can end up consuming you. Allyn Ann McClurg as Carmen Carlson.
It's hard to beat a memory like that.
Carmen Carlson stood as the embodiment of a devoted wife, a calm, compassionate harbor beside the clumsy station manager of Cincinnati radio. Through a nuanced performance rich with emotional depth, Allyn Ann McClurg crafted the portrait of a model family woman, gentle yet quietly resolute even in the most awkward situations. Her forgiving smile and warm, steady gaze became symbols of connection, offering comfort to countless American television viewers from 1978 to 1982.
You're right, I was.
It's all right.
No, it isn't all right.
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Oh, you're welcome, sweetheart.
Behind that composed exterior, however, Allyn's real life unfolded as a long series of hidden humiliations and deeply buried pain. She began with a promising rise on Broadway, but upon entering Hollywood, she encountered quiet dismissal, repeatedly overlooked for substantial leading roles. Forced into the life of a professional supporting actress, she wore herself thin, appearing in forgettable guest roles simply to earn a living. Her first great emotional blow came in 1953, when her marriage to composer Adolph Green ended after 8 years, plunging her into a severe emotional crisis amid the harsh moral judgment of the era. Even after finding companionship with her second husband, George Gaines, Allyn endured a different kind of sorrow, watching her own artistic identity fade beneath the towering shadow of his success. Her desire for self-definition slowly suffocated over decades. The harshest chapter arrived as age closed in, bringing losses that cut to the core. In 2016, the death of her husband of 63 years stripped away her final emotional anchor, leaving her a solitary widow in a home filled with memories. Yet the cruelest nightmare came in the form of a slow death sentence: Alzheimer's disease. The illness violently erased her memory and sense of self, reducing a gifted artist to a confused figure unable to recognize her once glorious roles, or even the loved ones caring for her. In the final days of May 2018 in North Bend, Washington, she lived amid fractured memories and total physical decline. On May 21, 2018, Allyn Ann McClurg passed away at the age of 91 in an eerie silence, closing the life of a woman who devoted herself wholly to her craft while carrying immeasurable unseen sorrow behind the curtain. Allyn Ann McClurg now rests in peace, concluding the journey of an artist's soul defined by dignity, resilience, and quiet endurance through storms of loss and illness. Though her body has faded into nothingness, the image of the kind-hearted Carmen Carlson remains a soft, lingering note, warming the memories of those who once loved Cincinnati radio. Allyn Ann McClurg's career stands as a poignant reminder of the precious gems Hollywood too often leaves behind, eclipsed by the glare of powerful men. Edie McClurg as Lucille Tarlek.
Lucille!
Hello, Jennifer.
Lucille Tarlek appeared as a pillar of quiet devotion, the loyal wife whose distinctive nasal voice always met Herb's antics with patience and understanding. Through Edie McClurg's heartfelt portrayal, the role carried a rare warmth and authenticity, transforming what could have been a minor character into a deeply human piece of the Cincinnati radio mosaic. Her gentle humor and benevolent presence instilled in audiences a belief in enduring family love, one capable of surviving imperfections and the noisy chaos of life in the late 1970s. Yet Edie McClurg's real life unfolded like a somber ballad of loneliness and pain, shaped by relentless prejudice. Born in Kansas City in 1945, she faced Hollywood's quiet cruelty as she was repeatedly passed over for leading roles simply because her appearance did not fit conventional beauty standards. For decades, Edie was confined to playing the quirky older woman, a humiliating reduction for a gifted performer with extraordinary improvisational talent honed at the groundlings. Tragically, the woman who brought laughter to millions chose a solitary path, never marrying, never having children, silently bearing the pressures of her career without a shoulder to lean on. That isolation became the seed of a devastating final chapter as her health began to deteriorate.
Well, I packed your things and put them in your car, Herb.
Thank you.
Goodbye. No, stay.
Don't go.
The true brutality arrived in 2017, when Edie was diagnosed with progressive dementia, stripping away her sharp intellect and independence. Once a self-reliant woman, she suddenly became vulnerable to ruthless exploitation within her own home. In 2019, a man named Michael Ramos took advantage of her cognitive decline, infiltrating her life and triggering shocking allegations of abuse and financial manipulation. Her family was forced to seek legal guardianship to protect her from those circling like vultures around the legacy of a frail, aging artist. At 74, instead of enjoying a peaceful retirement, Edie McClurg was dragged into sordid legal battles, splashed across tabloids like TMZ, spending her later years in near-total isolation, her memories fading, no longer aware that she had once shone brightly under the stage lights. Edie McClurg is still alive today, but her spirit seems lost in the darkness of dementia. The guardianship battle and allegations of exploitation surrounding her stand as a stark warning about the fate that can await Hollywood stars in old age. Her journey is a painful reminder of how fragile fame and dignity become when a person grows old, vulnerable, and alone. Wolfe as Hirsch.
On the double, madam.
Do I have to let Mr. Travis in myself?
Hirsch appeared as the long-serving butler, a hardened-looking attendant whose quiet devotion anchored the Carlson household. Through Wolfe's restrained performance, tinged with subtle irony, the character became a nostalgic fragment within the world of Cincinnati radio. His gaunt face and dignified posture etched into viewers' minds the image of a living witness to time itself, a guardian of old-world values standing firm against the rebellious surge of rock and roll at the close of the 1970s.
When it's just you and me, I prepared a little differently.
Yet Wolfe's real-life journey unfolded as a windswept epic of artistic self-sacrifice spanning nearly a century. Born in Pennsylvania in 1896, his first great upheaval came when he set aside personal dreams to serve in the U.S. Army as a medical specialist during World War I. Witnessing mangled bodies and the fading breaths of fellow soldiers on the battlefield carved a prematurely weathered hardness into his face while he was still young. In 1935, at the age of 39, he encountered the brutal logic of Hollywood when he was forced to play the stepfather of a leading man only 4 years his junior. That cruel sentence of aging before one's time confined him to forgettable servant roles across more than 400 productions, burying forever his hopes of a radiant leading role beneath the towering shadows of A-list stars.
Oh, it's pretty good.
good. It's pretty good.
Excellent. I trust the doors are doing well.
Wright's cruelty reached its peak in the quiet torment of longevity. Living to 95 was both a blessing and a curse, as Ian Wolfe was forced to bid farewell, one by one, to every friend and contemporary of his generation. A sensitive, poetic soul, and the author of 2 poetry collections largely ignored by the public, he continued to exhaust himself on the set of Dick Tracy, 1990, even as his body was completely spent. In the final days of January 1992, at a hospital in Los Angeles, the solitary old artist battled physical decline while memories of Hollywood's golden age slowly dissolved. On January 23, 1992, Ian Wolfe passed away at the age of 95, ending a lifetime of silent devotion amid an eerie absence of media attention. The faint glow of old man Hirsch vanished, as the world had long moved beyond his era, leaving behind a legacy abandoned to the ruins of time. Ian Wolfe has now found his rest, closing a long and patient chapter in Hollywood history. Though his physical form has faded into nothingness, his devotion and resilient spirit remain a low, enduring note, warming the hearts of those who cherish the beauty of quiet perseverance. Ian Wolfe's career stands as a poignant testament to the pain endured by lifelong supporting actors, giving everything to their craft yet departing in silence. Max Wright as Frank Bartman. Frank Bartman appeared as a pragmatic, deeply skeptical lawyer, a character who brought sharp legal tension to Cincinnati radio during its final period of transition. With masterful command of the screen, Max Wright crafted the portrait of a keen intellectual whose stern exterior concealed constant concern for the survival of the collective he served. Though brief, the role was enough to affirm his stature as a serious actor, paving the way for his iconic turn as America's beloved TV father, Willie Tanner, in the legendary series Alf, a role that would later warm millions of American households. In stark contrast to that wholesome on-screen image, Max Wright's real life was haunted by psychological strain and a relentless, life-threatening illness. In 1995, just as his career had reached a stable footing, he received what felt like a suspended death sentence with a diagnosis of lymphoma. The shock forced him into brutal rounds of chemotherapy, draining the once charismatic man under the weight of devastating side effects. Physical suffering was compounded by a deep wound to his professional dignity. Max felt profoundly diminished by playing second fiddle to a lifeless puppet on ALF. Enduring grueling 20-hour workdays in a state of utter resentment pushed him into prolonged depression. When the final episode wrapped, he left the set without a word of farewell, carrying with him a bitterness toward a fame he regarded as humiliating rather than triumphant. The darkest nightmare arrived when his reputation was shattered by scandal and personal loss, struck at the core. In 2001, Max Wright was mercilessly torn apart by the National Enquirer, which published sensational allegations involving methamphetamine use and a depraved private life. Though he publicly denied the claims, the damage was irreversible. Hollywood swiftly turned its back on him, plunging him into isolation. Tragedy reached its most devastating depth in 2017, when his wife of more than half a century, Linda Elgood, died from breast cancer. With the loss of his final emotional anchor, Max collapsed completely, spending his remaining days in physical and emotional decline at the Lillian Booth Nursing Home in New Jersey. On June 26, 2019, he passed away at the age of 75, alone and widowed, as metastatic cancer drained the last strength from a life battered by storms and humiliation. Max Wright has now departed this world, closing a career that was brilliant yet riddled with suffering and bitterness. Though his name was clouded by cruel controversy, his extraordinary theatrical talent remains a sorrowful note that continues to resonate with those who truly love the art of cinema. The downfall of Max Wright stands as a harsh lesson in the cruelty of public judgment and the immense pressure hidden behind the glow of fame. They were once the brightest notes in a youthful symphony, bringing laughter and comfort to millions through the airwaves of Cincinnati radio. Now, though those familiar faces have gradually departed this world after lives marked by turmoil and tragedy, the legacy they left behind remains an indelible memory. As time moves forward with relentless force, which character from WKRP in Cincinnati touched you most deeply? Share your cherished memories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe as we continue this journey back through time to honor the legends who once shone so brightly.